In life, things don't always go as planned. We often get thrown with curveballs, maybe in our jobs, in our marriages, or with our health, and we're left to pick up the pieces.
Just so you know what I've been dealing with today, John quit. As you all know, we have been on this mission to use media to make a difference. It is my mission. It is something that I really feel called to do. It's a different type of programming, and we've been figuring it out. I know this is what I'm supposed to do with all my heart, soul, and mind, and with a limited budget. It is very hard, and I don't blame John for walking out.
See you at the top. Starts with a state of mind. We'll see you at the top. Just leave your fears behind. If you believe it, you can achieve it. We'll see you.
I want a show that's inspiring and authentic and just real. I want to make a difference, and media is my platform to do that.
Believe it, you can achieve it. We'll see you at the top.
Picking up the pieces is not always easy. It takes a tremendous amount of courage and strength and the desire to see things through.
Thanks for meeting me.
Sure.
It's not really been the same since you left us,
I wouldn't say I've really left anywhere, but what do you mean?
since you quit.
Quit is such an ugly word. I stepped aside.
And I know that was kind of, you were at your wit's end, and what had kind of happened there.
Well, I mean, it seemed that there wasn't enough pre-production. I didn't think from the beginning to jump into production the way we did. There was a lot of turmoil with, people coming and going. Not everyone was on the same page. Get a little flustered, and then when the turnaround time is so quick, you can't enjoy what you do. And I always said growing up, if I didn't enjoy what I was doing, I wasn't going to keep doing it.
Well, I think since you've been gone, there have been some real changes made, and I think more than real changes, some changes that we can maintain consistently. Working with Shanna as a producer and really having her help me front stories and call sheets and those types of things. And I think more importantly, the realization of asking for what we need from a production standpoint. For so long, you were doing so many roles. We all were. I mean, we all, me and you, because I think that goes along with startup. And I think we're getting beyond that point, that we can actually bring on people we need, put people in the right seats.
So let's not beat around the bush. You asked me to come here because I know you want me to come back, give it a shot, however you want to put it. Why should I? I mean, what are these things that have been changed?
What would be different is you would just be focused specifically on directing on set.
I'd have to sleep on it.
And I probably won't sleep until John gives me an answer. That's the hard thing about life. Often we have a plan, but life has something different for us. That was definitely the case with my friend Ginger.
Basically, I had a plan, a fairy tale plan. Not really. A lot of women have these plans about a beautiful white wedding. That's not my plan, really. It was to go away to an island and get married and just be hip and exotic about it all. But anyway, I had a plan to have an honest relationship and a relationship where we were in love and trusted each other. And my plans were broken. I met a man, we fell in love, I became pregnant. We thought it was bliss, and then it became rocky. I realized we weren't right for each other. It wasn't just a bump in the road, it was a complete U-turn. Aspen was born and she wasn't breathing, so she was put in the NICU for 2 weeks. So that was really hard. To have that and to separate from my fiance at the same time and moved in here and did what we had to do. I know I was sad and hurt and then I'm not sure if these are the stages of grief, but I became angry and now I'm just like, raw, let's do this, you know?
So what are some of those steps that you're taking to kind of rebuild and start over?
But first of all, just get your support network going, and I'm lucky where they just came to me, you know, and I have some really, really good close friends and family, mainly, and they just picked me up and, you know, held me in their arms. I'm ready now. If you had asked me a month ago, 2 months ago, I'd be like, oh, you know, not yet. Let's live. Let's live life. Let's not be wallowing in what happened and the disaster that occurred or the turmoil that was in my life. Let's take where we are, embrace it, and let's move on from here and be better because of it. I think it'll be great now. I feel like I can handle adversity so much better.
Adversity really can make us stronger and wiser. We just have to be smart about how we handle the bumps in the road.
They need to get rid of any pictures that would suggest drinking, anything like that.
I'm not sure if you've ever seen a vaginal birth, but you know, the baby's head is going through the vagina. It looks like a bowling ball, you know, coming through the vagina, and it's just not going to go back how it was.
Sometimes bumps in the road can appear larger than life, especially given how fast information travels with all of the social media. From Facebook to Twitter to LinkedIn, it seems like everyone knows our business. And is the business everyone knows about online accurate?
Social media has evolved into something more than just communicating with your friends or staying in touch with relatives who may live in another city or state. So what students need to understand at this point is that because it has evolved into not only a way to chat with friends, they must be very deliberate about what's out there, because it is a way for them to market themselves to, whether it be a college and university or an employer. They need to be able to portray themselves in a positive light.
They need to get rid of any pictures that would suggest drinking, anything like that. They want to edit it to check and see if a friend has made a comment that could be derogatory. So they need to, on a regular basis, check their Facebook page to make sure that it's presentable. They need to think in terms of what image am I going to project to a college. They want to put pictures of family, pictures of maybe traveling, doing community service.
Just like putting the pieces of life back together is a process, maintaining an online image that is truly reflective of who you are is too.
Well, as a parent of 2 teenage boys, I became aware of the fact that sometimes we have great kids. You know, we love our kids and they do well in school, they're active in sports, and sometimes their online profile or their online image doesn't exactly match the image that we have of them or that we would like others to have of them. So I wanted to create a service that kind of helped educate teenagers and parents about the ramifications of their online presence or their viral footprint. And ViralLock is an extension of that process. A component of our service is also an ongoing monitoring service, which kind of helps with that. So if someone does post something that looks like it, you know, is shining you in a negative light, if you will, then you would get some kind of you would get a notification.
And while it's targeted for students looking to get into colleges, it really can be used for professionals, young professionals looking for jobs.
Absolutely, the young professional types. That's kind of the that's where it dovetails with our marketing effort. You know, it gets kind of custom in nature, but you know, having a branding campaign as a young professional is exceptionally important. It could help you advance in your career. It could help you, if you're going the entrepreneurial route, help you attract investors, help you attract clients, partners, all that. At the end of the day, you are a commodity. And the marketplace is willing to give you a shot. But in a big part of what allows them or will dictate how much of a shot they give you is your branding effort. You know, your campaign to brand yourself and to differentiate yourself.
Image is important. It's what we present to others, and right or wrong, it's often what we're judged on. But sometimes the need to redefine our image and regroup is embarrassing. And though I know it shouldn't be,
I guess I'm laughing because this is an uncomfortable topic. This feels very awkward, but
For you.
I don't see my girlfriends sitting around talking about their vaginas, but I think that probably many of them have issues with them after childbirth.
Probably the last taboo topic in gynecology is pelvic organ prolapse.
starting over, picking up the pieces, tightening things up, whatever you want to call it, can be necessary in life for a variety of reasons, whether it be digitally or down there. Yes, I said it, and it's exactly what you're thinking. It's putting the pieces back together and tightening down there that could have a real impact on our overall health as women.
I guess I'm laughing because this is an uncomfortable topic. This feels very awkward, but
For you.
I don't see my girlfriends sitting around talking about their vaginas, but I think that probably many of them have issues with them after childbirth.
Probably the last taboo topic in gynecology is pelvic organ prolapse. And basically all that is the woman's internal organs, prolapsing through her vagina. And approximately about 50% of women will have that. Like I said, it's something that's not talked about, but in this era, more and more people are bringing it up. One of the misconceptions out there is, after a childbirth, that everything's just going to come back to normal. And when you think about it, I'm not sure if you've ever seen a vaginal birth, but the baby's head is going through the vagina. It looks like a bowling ball, coming through the vagina, and it's just not going to go back how it was. I mean, you're stretching the nerves, muscles, ligaments. The symptoms women can have after childbirth, maybe 6 weeks after the childbirth, it may be 30 years after childbirth, but it can range from decreased sensation during sexual intercourse to really having the whole uterus, bladder, and internal organs prolapsing through their legs, and it's quite distressing for those patients.
So this is actually quite normal, the incontinence and then some of that.
Prolapse, absolutely. A lot of women think it's just a normal part of aging, and I guess to a certain extent it is. But having said that, a lot of women think, well, my mother put up with it, and so I'll put up with it, or they're just too embarrassed to talk about it and just deal with it on their own.
This topic makes me nervous, but I know that this
Okay,
is an
I'm not going to talk
important
about
topic.
vaginal looseness. No, I'm not saying vaginal looseness then.
No, I'm saying this is really good stuff though. I think this topic makes me uncomfortable because I don't believe many people are talking about it, and there would probably be a lot more happily married people if women knew there were options out there to fix that area.
I think a lot of women are actually just fearful. I think they're a little bit ashamed of what's going on. They feel like they're alone with this issue. I mean, what happens in the bathroom is kind of a private matter, and I think that's the biggest reason they don't talk about it. But breaking the silence about the issue is what we should be doing.
And what can you do for that, Jeff?
Well, there's both surgical and non-surgical treatment. Most of the repairs we do surgically are pretty minimally invasive. We can either do them robotically, through small incisions, or we can do them vaginally. Patients bounce back pretty quickly. They're back to work in 3 or 4 weeks with minimal downtime. Used to, it was a big operation, an open operation with big incisions.
As we've seen, technology really has come a long way and offers huge possibilities for us if we're brave enough to reach out for help. Help can also come in a far more simple form: human compassion and care.
And my boys, I had to worry about my boys. And what was I going to do with my boys? Excuse me.
Life is a journey. It's been said so many times, and with good reason. That journey is a road. It's full of bumps, bad drivers, and occasionally hairpin turns. All of us need a little advice and a lot of help.
Good news, bad news here, Janee. I've actually had to rebuild more than once in my life. And for me, if I were going to distill it down to just a word or two, it's, you got to go back to the basics. Yeah, you got to go back to the basics of what you believe. You got to go back to the foundation upon which you've built your life to this point. You've got to regroup and reapply the lessons that you've learned in life.
And do you have an example of maybe a loss that, or a hard time that you had to walk through?
10 years ago, I was a nursing home administrator. I was the owner of a small group of nursing homes. I actually had started a number of healthcare businesses. I was relatively successful and famous actually in the little closed world of nursing homes, long-term care. I was vice president of the Texas Healthcare Association. I was on the then Governor Bush's committee on long-term care. And out of left field, I was accused of Medicare fraud. Summarily, my reputation was destroyed. My business was literally taken away from me. I was bankrupt in a matter of days, if not weeks. My world just literally crashed and burned. All the hard work of a decade just burned up overnight, knowing that I hadn't done anything wrong. I did have one little fraction of my former business that survived. I put all of my time and energy into building that business. It took me literally 2 years to go through this process. Ultimately, I was completely exonerated. I was ultimately able to sell for a very large sum of money. But then on the other hand, I got a divorce. Then I had to deal with divorce. And what a crushing defeat that was in my life. And you know, my boys, I had to worry about my boys. And what was I gonna do with my boys? And, excuse me. But again, I went back to the basics of life. You know, I had to dig back into my faith. I had to reground myself. And all I can say is that you've got to find a group of loving people that you can open yourself to, be yourself to them, admit your faults and your foibles, understand that they have faults and foibles, and together you can then minister to one another in the true sense of the word. You can hold each other's hand as you're going through this difficult period.
For Pastor Don King, that's Ridge Life Church. For some women in Fort Worth, it's a house of redemption, a faith-based transitional living facility that teaches life skills. It's quiet, a safe spot in the loud, dangerous world of homelessness and addiction.
And what are some of the changes that you've noticed?
Well, when they first come, one of the things that's really obvious is that they're broken, that they look like they're lost, a deer in the headlights, you know, with no direction in their life, nowhere to go, and Sister Carolyn brings them in, and you can start to see the lights come on eventually.
I have mentors, I have teachers, I have counselors set in place that can actually, because one person cannot do it alone.
Why is education so important?
Well, education is something a lot of them did not have the opportunity to get early on. I suppose in many cases, due to lack of education, has chose them to pick some of the more negative passes in life that they've had. But with education and with the knowledge that they receive from it, it's something that no one could ever take away from them.
And really, it's kind of like starting all over again. I would use the word second chance, but many of them, including myself, have felt like we need more than a second chance. We need another chance, and so they get another chance at life to be able to try to bring themselves where God wants them to be.
I also have a purpose and a newfound plan to create meaningful media. I want my longtime friend and former coworker, John, to be a big part of it. If only he'll give me another chance.
I knew why you brought me here. And even with having enough time to think about it and having thought about it, you know, before I even stepped aside, I can still find it really hard to commit to anything because, I mean, at this point, like, what's in it for me? Why would I do it? And I can honestly say I can't commit to anything. I have to give it a shot. I have to see what's actually different. I have to see if I actually can fit in. You know, I know you've said the show's gone different places, and I don't know if I'm on the same page. And it'll take sleeping on it, to say the least.
I don't think that you've stuck with me as long as you have, for as little as you have, monetarily, to not at least give this a shot. So I'm just asking you to at least test it out. Would you be willing to do that?
A wise man once said it can't get no worse.
So you'll at least test it out?
I'll give it a shot. But no promises and, you know, what I can actually do and where it'll actually go.
Well, here's to at least seeing what happens.
I'll drink to anything.
Cheers to friends and to learning and to gracefully growing into being a better person. It's not always fun, and it's definitely a pain made better when we stand tall and stand together.